Glass doors slam as the guard blocks her path and shouts, "Staff entrance is around back." Amara Brooks doesn't flinch. Her fingers tighten on a matte black badge sleeve while cameras swivel like anxious birds. Inside, a young CEO's laugh cuts through the lobby. "She's with cleaning, move her." The guard grabs Amara's wrist, yanking once, hard, as her heel skids on polished stone. Behind him, the summit's giant screens flicker, red warnings blooming. Amara's eyes stay ice calm. You just locked out your only key. If you believe that no one should ever face discrimination while simply trying to do their job, type dignity below. Then comment your country and city. Let's see where people stand against prejudice worldwide. Your participation shows that accountability knows no borders. The Halcyon Forum's atrium glows like a polished circuit board. Glass walls, chrome beams, white LEDs stacked in clean lines overhead. The air smells of espresso, new plastic, and the citrus cleaner that janitorial crews use before big events. A waterfall wall murmurs behind the check-in kiosks, but the sound can't cover the sharp clicks of security earpieces. Radian Tier 1 Summit banners hang from the mezzanine, each one stamped with a slogan in minimalist font, "Secure the future." Amara Brooks stands at the center of all that engineered confidence, still as a metronome. Her posture stays straight, shoulders squared, chin level. The guard, Nolan Price, keeps his forearm across the doorway like a gate bar. His eyes dart from her sneakers to her dark blazer, then to the badge sleeve in her hand, as if the object itself insults him. "Ma'am," Nolan says, voice clipped. "Vendors and cleaning come through service door C17. Amara's gaze doesn't drop. Her eyes fix on the RFID reader by Nolan's hip, the kind with a rotating tamper-evident seal. The seal looks wrong, slightly misaligned. A tiny breadcrumb, barely visible, like a fingernail ridge. "I'm not a vendor," she says. Her voice stays even. "I'm on the keynote access list." Nolan's jaw tightens. He shifts his weight, boots squeaking against the stone. "Keynote? Sure." From inside the atrium, laughter rises, bright, practiced. A cluster of attendees in tailored suits and designer sneakers parts like water around a man in a slate-gray suit with no tie. Grant Voss, the 28-year-old CEO of Voss Shield, moves with the careless speed of someone who expects doors to open before he reaches them. A camera crew tracks him. A lav mic wire peeks at his collar like a white thread of authority. Grant's eyes sweep the entrance, then snag on Amara. He doesn't look curious. He looks inconvenienced. "What's the holdup?" he asks. Nolan angles his head toward her. "This one says she's keynote." Grant's mouth twists into a half smile. His eyes flick down, not to her face, but to her hands. Badge sleeve, slim fingers, a plain titanium ring on her right index finger. He chuckles once. "Keynote? She's dressed like facilities." Amara breathes in slowly through her nose. Her nostrils flare just slightly, then settle. "I'm dressed like I chose to be comfortable." Grant steps closer, lowering his voice as if he's being generous. "Listen, this is Tier 1. Investors, government contracts, people who—" he gestures at the glass and chrome. "Actually build things." Behind him, a huge vertical screen loops the Voss Shield promo, animated locks snapping shut over a city skyline. In the corner, a small live widget reads, "Threat Index, low," the letters pulse green. Amara's eyes flick to it for half a second. Green can lie. A woman with a headset, Lila Hart, the event producer, hurries over, tablet hugged to her chest. Her ponytail whips as she stops. "Grant, we're 30 minutes from your panel. We can't—" Grant doesn't look at her. He keeps his gaze on Amara, as if she's a stain he expects someone else to wipe away. "Handle it." Lila finally looks at Amara's face. Her expression changes, brows lifting, lips parting slightly like she recognizes a shape but can't place it. "Hi, what's your name?" "Amara Brooks." Lila's fingers freeze on her tablet, a micro pause. Then she forces a professional smile. "Okay, Amara, do you have your badge?" Amara raises the matte black sleeve. The pass inside is cracked at one corner, hologram shimmering like oil on water. She doesn't hand it over. She holds it at chest height, close enough to be seen, not close enough to be snatched again. Nolan reaches for it anyway. His hand comes forward, palm open, too confident. Amara shifts her wrist an inch back. Nolan's fingers close on air. Grant's smile thins. Cute. But you're not getting in. A man standing near the check-in kiosks, Marcus Reed, a mid-level engineer with a conference tote bag, watches the exchange. His eyes widen, then flick away, then come back, unable to ignore the imbalance. He swallows, throat bobbing, and murmurs to no one. Man, what is this? Amara hears him. She doesn't look at him yet. She keeps her focus on Grant. You built your company on a promise, she says. Security you can trust. Grant laughs again, louder, for the benefit of the onlookers. And it works. That's why we're here. At 3:47 p.m., a sound slices through the atrium, an alert tone from somewhere inside. Too sharp to be part of the event playlist. The giant promo screen stutters. The green threat index widget blinks, once, twice, then flips to yellow. Lila's tablet vibrates in her hands. She glances down, and her face drains of color. Her lips press together so tightly they turn pale. Nolan's earpiece crackles. He touches it, eyes narrowing. Say again? A second later, the promo screen glitches hard, the skyline dissolving into static. A red banner slams across the display. Unauthorized root session detected. Under it, a countdown appears in brutal white numbers. 02, 59, 02, 58. The room's temperature seems to drop. Conversations snag and unravel. Somewhere inside, a presenter's voice falters mid-sentence. Grant turns toward the screen, blinking fast. His confidence doesn't vanish, yet, but it tilts, like a chair on uneven legs. What is that? Lila's fingers tremble against her tablet. Grant, our network operations channel is lighting up. Amara watches the countdown like she's watching weather roll in. Her jaw stays relaxed. Her breathing stays controlled. Grant pivots back to her, irritation sharpening into something more frantic. This is your stunt? You trying to get attention? Amara's eyes lock with his, unblinking, a cold, steady contact that makes his next words stall in his throat. If I wanted attention, she says quiet, I'd walk on stage and say my name. Nolan's stance shifts, less certain now. His forearm still blocks the door, but his shoulders tense, as if he's realizing the door might be the wrong battlefield. Amara lifts her badge sleeve a fraction, enough for the cracked hologram to catch the light. You're about to learn, she says. What happens when you mistake the architect for the janitor? The countdown hits 02, 41, and the red banner duplicates across a second screen deeper inside. Grant's eyes dart, screen to Amara to Nolan, calculating, searching for someone else to blame. Get her out of here, he snaps. Now. Amara doesn't step back. Her hand slides into her blazer pocket, fingertips brushing cool metal, an engraved titanium USB key heavy as a secret. She doesn't show it. Not yet. Open the door, she tells Nolan, voice steady. Nolan hesitates, and in that hesitation, the breach timer keeps falling, 1 second at a time, toward a point of no return. Nolan's forearm still bars the doorway, but the soundscape changes. The atrium's soft music thins under a rising chorus of notification pings and clipped radio chatter. The waterfall wall keeps murmuring, indifferent, while overhead LEDs reflect in the glass like a grid that suddenly feels like a cage. The red breach banner replicates across screens inside, and the countdown keeps shaving seconds with mechanical cruelty. Lila steps to the side, thumb flying over her tablet. Her eyes widen, then narrow, as if she's trying to force the numbers to behave. Network ops, talk to me, she whispers into her headset. A new voice crackles back, female, steady, strained. This is Tessa Ward in the knock. We're seeing privilege escalation on the event VLAN. It's spreading. Grant's face hardens. He squares his shoulders, tries to look bigger than the problem. His fingers drum once against his thigh, then stop. Block the ports. Kill the guest Wi-Fi, he snaps, like he's giving a stage direction. Tessa doesn't laugh, but the pause is sharp. We already did. It's not coming through guest Wi-Fi. Marcus Reed shifts his tote bag higher on his shoulder, eyes darting between Amara and the screens. He takes a half-step closer to Lila, voice low. That warning, root session. That's not supposed to happen on a demo network. Lila's jaw tightens. She doesn't answer him, but her swallow is visible. Nolan's earpiece pops again. He touches it with 2 fingers, brows pinching. Command says lock down the entrance. Nobody gets in without a verified Tier 1 badge. Amara's gaze flicks to Nolan's badge reader, then to the tiny misaligned tamper seal again. Her eyes narrow just a fraction. Verified by what? She asks. The same system that's bleeding on those screens? Grant turns back to her, irritation now laced with fear he refuses to name. Stop talking like you understand. You're trespassing. Amara's lips barely move when she answers. You're about to be the one trespassing, in your own infrastructure. At 3:49 p.m., the threat widget that used to pulse green flashes red, then disappears entirely. The promo loop collapses into a black screen with white text, Certificate Chain Invalid. Beneath it, another line types itself, as if a ghost is at the keyboard. Trust no one. A hush ripples through the attendees inside. Someone laughs nervously, then stops when no one joins. A panelist on stage clears their throat into a dead microphone. Lila raises her tablet toward Grant, hands shaking. Our check-in scanners are throwing errors. It says badges are untrusted. Grant stares. His eyes widen, then harden again, like he's slamming a door inside himself. That's impossible. Our badge PKI is segregated. Tessa's voice returns louder now, layered with other voices behind her. Keyboards, alarms, controlled panic. It's not segregated anymore. Something is rewriting trust anchors. We're losing chain of custody across devices. Nolan looks down at his reader, thumb hovering. For the first time, his posture shifts from authority to uncertainty. My reader just blinked. The device in his hand chirps, then the small LED turns from blue to a warning amber. He taps the screen. It flashes. Device attestation failed. Nolan's jaw clenches. He glances at Grant like a kid who just broke something expensive. Sir, it's saying I'm unverified. Marcus exhales sharply through his nose. That's a supply chain style hit, he mutters. If they poison trust, everything falls. Grant's stare snaps to Marcus. Who are you? Marcus flinches, shoulders drawing in. I'm just a back-end engineer. I'm saying the obvious. Amara finally looks at Marcus just for a beat. Her expression doesn't soften, but it sharpens. Recognition of competence. Then she turns back to Grant. When trust collapses, she says, status becomes a costume. Grant steps closer, invading space. His voice lowers, tight. You did this. Amara doesn't retreat. Her spine stays straight, chin level, eyes fixed on his. If I did, she replies, you'd already be locked out permanently. Lila's headset squeals. Tessa speaks fast now. Grant, we have an attacker issuing commands as if they have the master signing key. If that key is real, we can't revoke fast enough. Amara's right hand slides deeper into her blazer pocket, fingertips finding the cool edge of the engraved titanium USB key. She keeps it hidden. But the movement is deliberate, a breadcrumb placed without being offered. Grant notices the motion. His eyes dart to her pocket. What do you have? Amara's voice stays calm, almost clinical. The only thing you can't buy at a Tier 1 summit. Nolan's breathing turns shallow. He looks from Amara to the door to the failing reader. His forearm still blocks her, but his elbow bends, weakening. If you're not staff, he says, quieter, prove it. Amara lifts her cracked holographic pass again. Light fractures across the plastic like a warning flare. Scan it, she says. Nolan hesitates, then brings the reader close. The device beeps, once, then screams a long error tone. The screen flashes red. Access denied. Identity conflict. Lila's eyes go wide. Identity conflict? That's not even a normal... Amara's stare turns glacial. Because my identity exists in your system, she says, in a way you don't understand. The countdown on the nearest screen hits 01:58. Behind the glass doors, inside the summit, a second red banner blooms, core services disconnected. Grant's confidence finally cracks at the edges. His lips part, then press thin. Nolan, he orders, voice sharp to hide the tremor. Detain her. Now. Nolan's hand rises, then stops midair, fingers curling uncertainly, as if his body refuses the command. His eyes flick to the red screens, then back to Amara's steady face. Amara speaks, low enough that only the three of them hear. If you put your hands on me again, she says, you won't just lose your summit. She lets a single beat of silence land, 1 second heavy as iron. You'll lose your company. The atrium's glass turns into a mirror of panic. Red banners bounce across reflections, and the waterfall wall keeps sliding water like nothing matters. Nolan's hand hovers near Amara's elbow, unsure whether to grab or apologize. Grant's nostrils flare. His eyes dart to the door locks as if he can command them with his stare. At 3:51 p.m., Tessa's voice punches through Lila's headset. Grant, they're inside the signing service. Not just reading. Issuing. Grant snaps. Shut it down. We try, Tessa says, and the strain shows in every syllable. But the kill switch requires... Amara cuts in, calm as a metronome. Requires a quorum key and a seed phrase you never rotated. Grant's head whips toward her. How would you know that? Marcus Reed's eyebrows lift. His jaw tightens. Then he steps forward despite himself. That's not in public docs, he says, voice low. His eyes flick to Grant. Not even in the white paper. Nolan's breathing turns shallow. He looks at Amara's face now, not her hands. Ma'am, he starts, then stops, like the word ma'am suddenly feels too small. Lila's tablet chirps and flashes. She holds it up, screen trembling in her grip. A diagnostic window scrolls lines of log output. Failed attestation, cert chain broken, root session. And then, in the middle of the chaos, a line appears that doesn't match the others. It's clean, almost elegant. Ghost arch. If you can read this, you locked the wrong door. Grant stares, lips parting. The color drains from his cheeks. That's a prank, he says, but his voice cracks on the last word. Amara's eyes stay locked on him, unblinking. You name your threat model after me, she says quietly. And you still don't recognize my handwriting. Grant takes a half step back. His hands flex at his sides, opening and closing once like he's trying to grip control out of the air. Nolan, he says, forcing steel into his tone. Escort her off the property. Nolan swallows. His gaze drops to the reader still flashing. Device attestation failed. He looks back up, jaw clenched, then shakes his head, small, but visible. I can't, he says, not like this. The countdown on the nearest screen hits 01:12. Amara's right shoulder shifts. Her fingers tighten around something hidden in her pocket. Metal, heavy, exact. She leans in just enough for Grant to hear. Open the door, she says, or watch your empire go dark from the lobby. The atrium shifts from awkward spectacle to controlled emergency. Overhead LEDs dim one notch as the building switches to threat mode, bathing faces in a colder white. Metal shutters half drop over side corridors with a hydraulic sigh. The waterfall wall keeps sliding, but now it sounds like static. At 3:52 p.m., Lila's headset squawks so loud she winces. All exhibitors freeze! DHS liaison is moving to the lobby, Tessa says. Behind her voice, someone barks, Kill the stage feed, now! Grant's eyes snap from the red countdown to Amara's face. His jaw clenches, then loosens, like he can't decide whether to rage or beg. You put my company in federal lockdown, he says. Amara doesn't blink. You did, she answers, when you built trust on appearances. A woman in a navy blazer and low bun strides in with 2 agents behind her, badge clipped high. Deputy Director Evelyn Carter. Her gaze cuts through the room, fast and precise. "Who's in charge here?" Grant squares up instantly. "Grant Voss, CEO." Evelyn's eyes narrow. "Then listen carefully. We have a live compromise impacting a Tier 1 venue. We need the architect of your signing service." Grant's mouth opens. "My team—" Evelyn interrupts. "Not your team. The original designer. The one your logs call Ghost Arch." She glances at Lila's tablet. "Where is she?" Silence lands. Marcus's eyes widen, his lips part. Nolan's throat works as he swallows. Grant follows their gaze, straight to Amara. His confidence drains in real time, like a battery pulled from the wall. "That's not possible," he whispers. Amara lifts her cracked holographic pass, not offering it, just letting it catch the light. "It's possible," she says, "because I wrote the first line." Nolan steps aside an inch, then another. The doorway opens like a confession. In America, people love the myth that competence announces itself, that brilliance arrives in the right uniform. But prejudice is a lazy algorithm. It classifies fast, it verifies nothing, and it fails catastrophically under pressure. While Amara's story is fictional, the patterns reflect documented reality. Historical records show tech workplaces and contractors have faced discrimination cases for decades. In 1981, the Supreme Court's Patterson v. McLean Credit Union addressed racial harassment under 42 U.S.C. for 1981, reinforcing that race-based barriers at work can carry legal consequences. The EEOC's enforcement data continues to show thousands of race discrimination charges filed annually, EEOC 2023. These aren't isolated incidents. They're systemic patterns requiring continued vigilance and reform. The countdown hits 0047. Amara steps forward, eyes ice steady on Grant. "Open every internal door," she says, "and I can stop the bleeding." The doors glide open, and cold air from the atrium spills into the conference interior, like a held breath released. Inside, the Halcyon Forum's main hall shines with tiered seating, black truss lighting, and a stage framed by 2 massive LED walls now pulsing red. The scent shifts, less citrus cleaner, more warm electronics and cable insulation. Security agents move in tight arcs, shoes whispering across carpet tiles. Amara steps through first. Nolan follows 1 pace behind, not touching her, his hands open at his sides like he's relearning where they belong. Grant trails them, jaw clenched, eyes flicking to every camera as if the lenses suddenly testify. Deputy Director Carter points at a side door. "Command post, now." In the makeshift operations room, folding tables crowd under bright fluorescents. Laptops sit in rows, USB hubs dangling, power strips snaking like black vines. Tessa's voice comes through a speakerphone, sharp and breath-controlled. "We're at 41 seconds. They're pivoting to stage controllers." Amara sets her badge sleeve on the table without looking down. The cracked hologram catches the light and throws fractured rainbows onto the keyboard. "Put me on the signing service logs," she says. Grant scoffs weakly. "You can't just—" Amara turns her head, slow, her eyes fix on him, unblinking. "Then watch," she says. Lila slides a laptop toward her, hands trembling. Marcus hovers at her shoulder, swallowing hard. "I can pull the audit chain," he offers, voice tight, "if it still exists." Amara's fingers hover over the keys for a single beat, then move, not frantic, precise. She types a short command, pauses, then taps enter. On the big wall monitor, the scrolling attacker session freezes. A new line appears, handshake accepted. Tessa's breathing catches on the speaker. "What did you just do?" Amara's lips barely part. "I speak the system's first language." Grant's face shifts, confusion, then a flash of recognition he hates. "That's proprietary," he whispers. Amara reaches into her blazer pocket and sets the engraved titanium USB key on the table. It lands with a soft, heavy click that silences the room more than the alarms do. Nolan's eyes widen. His jaw tightens, then releases. Deputy Director Carter leans in. Is that what I think it is? Amara nods once. The master encryption key, the one your company keeps pretending doesn't exist. The countdown hits 00:19. Amara slides the key toward the laptop's port, but stops a hair's breadth short. She looks at Grant. You want it saved? She asks. Say it. Grant's throat works. The arrogance fights, then loses. Please, he forces out. Save it. Amara inserts the key. The screen floods with new prompts, then the red banners begin to blink, like a dying siren running out of power. The operations room tightens around a single sound, the laptop fan spooling up, then steadying like controlled breathing. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, flattening every face into pale focus. On the wall monitor, the red banners don't vanish. They hesitate, flicker, then regroup in a new pattern, as if the attacker is adjusting their stance. The air tastes like warm dust from overworked electronics. Tessa's voice crackles through the speakerphone. Signing service just acknowledged a hardware-backed challenge. That's not supposed to happen from a USB device. Amara's fingers glide again, wrists loose, shoulders still. Her eyes narrow at a timestamp in the log. Milliseconds that don't line up. They're replaying a nonce, she says. Not from here. From a mirror. Marcus leans closer, pupils darting across the screen. A shadow environment, he whispers. His jaw tightens as the implication lands. Deputy Director Carter tilts her head, watching Amara more than the monitor. You built a back door? Amara doesn't look up. I built a recovery path, she says, for when people with titles break things they don't understand. Grant shifts, trying to reclaim oxygen in the room. His hands spread, palms out, voice sharp. Everyone, follow my lead. We isolate. Lila cuts him off without meaning to, eyes wide, throat tight. Grant, the system isn't listening to you. Grant's face flushes. His eyes flick to Nolan as if ordering him to restore the old hierarchy. Nolan's posture stays rigid, but he doesn't move. His gaze fixes on the wall monitor, then snaps back to Amara's steady profile, like he's choosing the only person acting with certainty. At 3:54 p.m., the wall monitor fills with a new prompt, typed one character at a time. Hello, Amara Brooks. A chill runs through the room. Marcus's lips part. Lila's hand flies to her mouth. Even Grant goes still, blinking fast. Tessa's voice drops. They shouldn't know her name. That machine isn't connected to registration. Amara's jaw tightens for the first time. Just a small clench, then release. They pulled it from your internal HR metadata, she says. The part you thought nobody could reach. Grant's voice cracks. HR? We don't... Amara finally looks at him. Her eyes hold his, unblinking. You erased me from the org chart, she says quietly. But you couldn't erase the commits. The attacker types again, give me the key, or I burn the vault. Deputy Director Carter steps closer, voice low and urgent. What vault? Amara's fingers hover above the keyboard like a poised blade. Your customer secrets, she says, and his. Grant swallows hard, Adam's apple bobbing. Amara. She cuts him off with one word, cold and precise. Move. The command post hums like a trapped beehive. Server racks along the wall breathe hot air through vents, and the smell of warmed plastic mixes with burnt coffee from a neglected urn. On the central monitor, the attacker's message sits there. Give me the key, or I burn the vault. As if it owns the room. Amara stands square to the screen, shoulders level, one hand resting near the titanium USB key like it is a loaded tool, not a trophy. Deputy Director Carter's eyes sharpen. Amara, I need options. Now. Amara's gaze doesn't leave the log window. Her pupils flick once to the timestamp, then to a line of certificate metadata. Option 1. We hand over the key and watch them pivot everywhere. Her jaw tightens for a beat. Option 2. We use my recovery path to force a quorum challenge they can't fake. Grant steps forward, voice rising like he's trying to climb back onto his throne. You can't just invent a quorum. Our system. Amara finally turns her head. Her eyes lock on him, unblinking. Your system is my system, she says. The words land clean and heavy. A silence spreads. Lila's fingers squeeze her tablet until her knuckles pale. Marcus's eyebrows lift. Then his mouth presses into a thin line, as if he is watching a truth he suspected become undeniable. Tessa's voice crackles through the speaker. We're seeing lateral movement toward customer vault partitions. 2 minutes, maybe less. Nolan stands near the doorway, hands open, posture rigid. His eyes dart from Grant to Amara, then hold on Amara's calm profile. He swallows, throat bobbing. Tell me what to do, he says, and the choice in his voice is obvious. Amara nods once, not thanking him. First, nobody touches this key but me. She taps the titanium drive with one fingernail, soft click, sharp boundary. Second, I need a clean terminal, hardwired, no badge auth. Grant's lips curl. That's not protocol. Deputy Director Carter cuts him off. Grant, your protocol is burning. Grant's nostrils flare. His eyes flick to the camera in the corner of the room. Event security, still recording. He straightens his suit jacket, trying to look composed for a future deposition. Fine, he says. But if this fails, she's responsible. Amara's eyes narrow a fraction. If this fails, she replies, it fails because you treated security like marketing. She slides into the chair at the terminal. The keyboard sits slightly off-center, keys shiny from use. Fluorescent light strips above throw hard shadows across her hands. Her fingers hover, then move, precise, controlled. The wall monitor fills with a new prompt as she opens a hidden administrative console that none of Grant's staff recognizes. Marcus leans closer, voice low. That interface. I've never seen that in production. You're not supposed to, Amara says. Her breathing stays steady. It's for emergencies. And for liars. The attacker's session reacts instantly, as if it feels her presence. New text appears, rapid. No tricks. I see you. Amara doesn't blink. Good, she murmurs. Then watch. She types a short sequence and pauses. On the central monitor, a challenge appears. 3 fields, each requiring a cryptographic acknowledgement from separate trusted identities. A quorum gate. The system begins counting down a new timer. 0, 30 to respond. Grant's face shifts. His eyes widen, then dart to Tessa's speaker. That's not how the signing service works. Tessa answers, stunned. It does. But only if the original. She stops herself, then exhales. Only if Ghost Architect built it that way. Deputy Director Carter turns her head slowly toward Grant. Ghost Architect, she says, tasting the code name. That's her. Grant's jaw clenches hard enough to show the muscle. No, he says, but the word comes out thin. Amara keeps typing. Grant, she says without looking at him. I need your voice on record. Grant's eyes flash. Excuse me? Amara finally looks up. Her gaze is ice calm, steady enough to make the room feel smaller. Say it. She tells him. Say who wrote the original signing service. Lila's lips part. Nolan's eyes widen. Marcus holds his breath, shoulders lifted. The room becomes a courtroom without a judge, and Grant stands there realizing every witness is watching. Grant's voice catches. Then he forces it out, each word scraping his pride. Amara Brooks wrote the original code, he says. She designed the core. Amara turns back to the screen as if she has simply checked a box. Thank you. The quorum challenge pings again, waiting for its 3 acknowledgements. Amara reaches into her pocket and pulls out her phone, not to call, just to display a QR token generator tied to an old credential. Breadcrumb becomes Blade. She scans it against the terminal camera. One field turns green. Second acknowledgement, she says, eyes flicking to Deputy Director Carter. DHS has a hardware token for Tier 1 incidents. Use it. Carter doesn't hesitate. She produces a slim fob from her blazer pocket, thumb steady, and presses. The second field turns green. Grant inhales sharply, realizing what comes next. And the third? He asks. Amara's fingers stop. She looks at Nolan. Nolan stiffens. Me? Amara nods once. Your badge reader failed attestation, she says. But your personal security credential, your training card, still has an offline signing seed. You carry it because you think it's useless. Nolan's eyes dart down. Then he reaches into his wallet with trembling fingers. He pulls out a laminated card with a magnetic strip, edges worn. He slides it into the terminal's auxiliary reader. The third field turns green. On the wall monitor, the attacker's session jerks, as if it trips. The text stutters. What did you do? Amara's jaw tightens, then releases. I stop you from hiding behind my stolen system, she says quietly. The screen flashes. Session quarantined. Access revoked. But the vault timer in Tessa's background channel keeps ticking, and Amara's eyes flick to a new line appearing at the bottom of the log, something that makes her shoulders go still, like a predator hearing a twig snap. A new message types itself, slower, deliberate. You think this is the only door? The command post doesn't celebrate. The server racks keep exhaling heat, and the fluorescent buzz feels louder now that everyone stops talking. On the wall monitor, Session Quarantined sits like a temporary bandage. Then, another alert blooms across a different feed, Facility Control Anomaly, and the main hall camera grid pops up, 12 angles at once, doors, elevators, badge gates, loading bays. Tessa's voice sharpens. They just jumped to building management. That's separate. That's connected, Amara finishes. Her eyes narrow at a certificate thumbprint on screen. Her fingers drum once, then go still. Grant, your separate systems share a trust anchor. Grant's face tightens. No, they don't. Amara points at a hex string. They do. You reuse the same route because it's cheaper. Across the camera grid, a glass security door on level 5 clicks open by itself. A red exit sign flickers like a heartbeat. Nolan's jaw clenches. His hand goes to his belt, then drops, unsure whether he's a guard or a witness. Lila's breathing turns shallow as she watches an elevator indicator change, going up without a call. Deputy Director Carter leans toward the screen. If that attacker gets into a restricted area, they want the vault physically, Marcus says, voice tight. His eyes dart to Amara. Not just data. Amara keeps her gaze on the certificate chain, unblinking. They're using a forged facility cert. Same signature style as the breach, same arrogance. Grant snaps, so fix it. Amara turns her head slowly. Her stare is cold enough to quiet him. I'm fixing what you refuse to respect, she says, but I'm not doing it while you narrate over me. In rooms like this, power loves to pretend it's earned, like a badge, a title, a tailored suit. But real power is whoever understands the system when it breaks, and whether the room is brave enough to listen. While Amara's story is fictional, the patterns reflect documented reality. Research demonstrates persistent racial disparities in the tech workforce. A Pew Research Center analysis, 2021, reports Black workers remain underrepresented in STEM jobs relative to their share of the U.S. workforce. The EEOC's charge data, 2022, also shows race remains one of the most frequently alleged bases of workplace discrimination filings. These aren't isolated incidents, they're systemic patterns requiring continued vigilance and reform. Amara slides the titanium USB key closer, then types a new command. Short, deliberate. Tessa, rotate the facility route now. Push emergency revocation across controllers. Tessa exhales. Doing it. The level 5 door clicks again, this time locking. The elevator indicator stalls. Grant's eyes flick from the screens to Amara's hands, finally seeing the architect he tried to erase. "Amara," he says, quieter. "What else did I miss?" Amara doesn't answer. Her eyes fix on one camera tile, because someone, somewhere, is still moving. The camera grid jitters as if the building itself flinches. Most tiles show locked doors and stalled elevators, but one feed, level 5 service corridor, flickers, then stabilizes. Fluorescent tubes hum over bare concrete. A red toolbox sits open beside a rolling cart. The air looks cold, metallic, like it tastes of dust and ozone. A figure steps into frame wearing a maintenance vest and a conference lanyard. His badge swings when he moves, and the barcode glints under the harsh light. Nolan leans toward the monitor, eyes widening, then narrowing. "That's not one of ours." Tessa's voice comes through, tight. "Someone is physically on level 5. They're presenting a credential my controller still reads as valid for 2 seconds, then it fails." Amara's gaze fixes on the badge, unblinking. "Zoom," she says. Lila fumbles, then taps. The image enlarges. The badge face shows a clean logo, too clean, like it's printed from a template. And in the corner, a tiny holographic shimmer that matches the style of the cracked pass Amara carries, except this one is perfect. Marcus inhales sharply. That hologram pattern. It's the same family. Deputy Director Carter's jaw tightens. An impersonation credential with a forged cert chain. Grant's lips part, then press thin. His eyes flick to Amara like he wants her to fix his panic the way she fixes his code. "Can you lock him in?" Amara doesn't answer him. Her fingers move. Precise. On the monitor, the level 5 door behind the intruder clacks. Locks cycling. The man pauses, head turning as if he hears the click. He pulls a phone up, then lowers it, realizing something changes. Then he looks straight into the camera. It's not an accident. His mouth moves in a silent sentence. Lila's hand flies to her headset. "Audio, can we?" A new text line types on Amara's terminal, clean and deliberate. "You always fix it. You always show up." Amara's jaw clenches once, then releases. She types, and her voice stays flat. "Rory Mills," she says, reading a name from the access log. "Facilities tech. He's supposed to be on level 2. Nolan swallows hard. "I know Rory. He's not a hacker." Carter's eyes narrow. Or he's coerced. On the camera feed, Rory reaches into the toolbox and lifts a small hard case with a tamper seal. He holds it up to the camera like proof of possession. Grant's face drains. "That's the prototype vault drive." Amara's eyes turn ice calm. "Then this stops being about your reputation," she says. "It becomes evidence." She looks at Carter. "You're going to want agents at Stairwell 5B, now." Deputy Director Carter speaks into her radio without looking away from the level 5 feed. "Units, move to Stairwell 5B and loading bay corridor. Quiet approach." Her voice stays calm, but her fingers tighten around the mic, knuckles whitening for a beat. In the command post, the air is sharp with ozone and overheated circuitry. Somewhere behind them, the stage crowd murmurs, confused by screens that keep blinking between sponsor logos and red warnings. Every fluorescent light feels too bright, like it's interrogating everyone at once. Amara keeps her eyes on Rory as he shifts his weight beside the open toolbox. The man's shoulders hunch slightly, then straighten, like he's receiving instructions through an earpiece. Nolan leans in, pupils darting. "That's him," he says again, quieter, and the certainty in his voice sounds like grief. On Amara's terminal, the attacker's text continues, slow and taunting. "You always show up." Grant drags a hand down his face, trying to pull himself back together. "Amara," he says, and the arrogance tries to return, but it can't find its footing. "Tell them to stand down. We can negotiate." Amara turns her head. Her gaze pins him, steady, unblinking, the kind of eye contact that makes excuses feel childish. "You don't negotiate with a system that thinks it owns you," she says. "You revoke it." Marcus Reed shifts beside her, jaw clenched. "He's holding the prototype," Marcus says, voice tight. If he pulls that drive, we lose chain of custody. Lila's hands tremble around her tablet. And we have press in the main hall, she whispers. If they see agents running, Carter cuts in, crisp. Press is secondary. Grant's eyes flick to Carter, then back to Amara. He tries a different angle, softer. I built this company, he says. I can't let... Amara interrupts, voice flat. You branded it. She points at the level 5 tile. Zoom closer. The badge. Lila taps again, fingers fumbling. The camera digitally creeps in until the counterfeit credential fills half the screen. The hologram is perfect. Too perfect. The shimmer has repeating arcs that look like a rainbow stamped by a machine, not the subtle noise of real micro-etching. Amara's eyes narrow. Her jaw tightens once. There, she says. What? Nolan asks, leaning forward. Amara lifts her cracked pass sleeve from the table and holds it next to the monitor, aligning the corner angles. The counterfeit hologram repeats every 16 frames, she says. A lazy render loop. Whoever prints it doesn't have the analog jitter pattern. Grant blinks. That means nothing. It means everything, Amara replies. It means it's not Rory. The man on screen reaches into the hard case and tilts it open just enough to show foam cutouts and a black drive module with a tamper seal. He lifts the module, then pauses, head turning slightly as if he hears footsteps in the stairwell. His eyes flick up, straight into the camera again. Calm, almost amused. Carter's radio hisses. We have visual. Subject in service corridor. Approaching. Amara's fingers move over the keyboard. She pulls up the facility controller's last accepted command set, then isolates the 2-second window Tessa mentioned. Tessa, she says, voice steady, I need you to mirror the controller logs for door 5C, not 5B, 5C. Tessa responds immediately, breath controlled. Copy, pulling now. Nolan's eyebrows lift. Why 5C? Amara doesn't look away from the feed. Because he's watching the obvious stairwell. He wants them to funnel. Grant scoffs, but it comes out thin. You're guessing. Amara finally looks at him again. I'm recognizing patterns, she says. You keep confusing certainty with rank. On the level 5 tile, the intruder slides his perfect badge across a reader. The reader flashes green for a blink, 2 seconds, then turns red. He smirks at the red, like it's expected, and moves anyway, forcing the door with a thin metal tool from the toolbox. Marcus inhales sharply. He's bypassing hardware. Amara types one line and hits enter. The facility controller pushes a new rule. In the corridor, an overhead strobe flashes once, white, harsh, and the door's maglock re-engages with a loud clack that echoes off concrete. The intruder's shoulder hits the door when it stops moving. He staggers half a step, recovers, then turns his head toward the camera again. Annoyance finally cracking his composure. Carter's radio pops. Door just relocked on him. Good move. Grant's mouth opens, then closes. His eyes dart around the room, searching for something to blame, but every witness stands too still. Lila looks at Amara like she's seeing the real keynote at last. Marcus's posture straightens, as if he's deciding which story he will tell later. Nolan's hands stay open at his sides. No longer blocking, no longer grabbing, just watching. Amara's voice drops, quiet but carrying. You called me cleaning, she says to Grant, and now you're watching me protect what you couldn't even identify. Grant's throat works. He swallows. Amara turns back to the screen. Save that apology, she says. We still have an attacker in your building. On the level 5 feed, the intruder sets the prototype module back into the case with controlled frustration. He reaches into his vest and pulls out a small device, something like a phone, but thicker, thumb hovering over a button. Amara's eyes widen a fraction, then harden. Carter, she says, voice suddenly sharp. Tell your team, don't let him press that. Carter's voice snaps into her radio. No button presses. Hands visible. The command post holds its breath. Fluorescent light washes everyone in the same stark color, and the server racks keep pushing out hot air like a furnace that refuses to care. On the level 5 tile, The intruder's thumb hovers over the device again, just a millimeter from decision. Amara leans forward, eyes widening a fraction, then narrowing, locking on the object's edge profile. "That's not a phone," she says. Her voice stays controlled, but her jaw tightens once. "That's a hardware trigger with a cellular fallback." Grant's lips part. "What does it do?" "Detonates his leverage," Marcus answers before Amara can. His hands curl into fists at his sides, then release. "A dead man message. If it fires, it could dump customer vault metadata everywhere." Lila's fingers tremble on her tablet. On the main hall screens, Tessa's voice comes through the speaker, sharp with urgency. "He has a broadcast route into the stage LEDs. 10 seconds, maybe less if he gets a handshake." Nolan takes a step toward the door, instinct pushing him forward. Carter's hand lifts, stopping him with 2 fingers. Nolan freezes, swallowing hard, then nods, obedient to the only authority that actually protects people right now. On the level 5 feed, the intruder raises the device higher, tilting it toward the camera as if he wants an audience. He finally speaks, voice thin through a tinny mic the security camera barely catches. "You can't lock every door," he says. "People always leave one open." Amara's gaze stays ice calm. "Not my doors," she says, quiet. She types fast, 3 lines, then a pause. The wall monitor splits. Facility controls on one side, signing service trust map on the other. She drags the titanium USB key closer, fingers steady, and enters a command that Tessa recognizes instantly. Tessa inhales, audible. "You're initiating a root of trust rebind." Grant's eyes dart. "You can do that live?" Amara doesn't look at him. "I can," she replies, "because I built the recovery path before you learned the vocabulary." The intruder's device beeps once, a soft chirp that lands like a gun cocking. Carter's radio crackles. Subject is raising the trigger, moving in. Amara hits enter. On the level 5 tile, the intruder's badge reader flashes green for a blink, then dies, screen black. His device beeps again, confused now, searching for signal. He looks down, shoulders tightening. The smirk slips. Nolan exhales sharply. "It cut him off." Amara's voice stays flat. "I revoke his counterfeit trust anchor and starve the trigger of authentication." The intruder jerks the device closer to his chest, thumb pressing harder, but the screen on it flashes a message that the camera catches in a glare. "Cert rejected." Carter speaks into her radio, calm and surgical. "Move. Now." 2 agents rush into the corridor from the left edge of the feed. The intruder pivots, but the maglock door behind him stays shut. He swings the toolbox like a shield. One agent angles away. The other closes distance and drives a shoulder into him. The hard case clatters across the concrete, foam popping open. The prototype module tumbles, still sealed. Lila's hand flies to her mouth. Her eyes squeeze shut for a split second, then open, fixed on the monitor like she's forcing herself to witness. The intruder hits the floor. An agent pins his wrist. The trigger device skids away, booted under control. Carter's radio confirms it with a crisp exhale. Trigger secured. Subject detained. In the command post, the first sound after the takedown is the building's ventilation, steady and loud, like a metronome returning after chaos. Grant's shoulders sag, then straighten as if he remembers cameras exist. He turns to Carter. "We need to keep this quiet." Carter's stare is cold. "This is already federal," she says. "Quiet is not an option." Amara reaches for her cracked holographic pass sleeve and slides it across the table toward Carter. "My access history is in your logs," she says. "My authorship is in your commits, and his company's misrepresentations are in their contracts." Grant flinches at the word contracts. Marcus watches him, eyes narrowing, then looks at Amara with something like respect that doesn't need permission. Grant tries again, voice softer, almost pleading. "Amara, we can talk. I can make this right." Amara finally turns her head. Her eyes lock on his, unblinking. "You don't make it right with a private conversation," she says. You make it right with a record. While Amara's story is fictional, the patterns reflect documented reality. Real progress continues. In 2023, the SEC adopted rules requiring public companies to disclose material cybersecurity incidents and describe risk management and governance, SEC 2023. That shift pushes executives to treat security as accountability, not branding. Parallel workplace reforms also expand pay transparency and anti-bias compliance in multiple states, 2023-2024. These aren't isolated incidents. They're systemic patterns requiring continued vigilance and reform. Carter nods once, already moving. Amara Brooks, you're coming with my team to formalize a statement. Nolan steps forward, hands open, voice low. Ms. Brooks, I'm sorry, he says, jaw tight. I grabbed you. I was wrong. Amara holds his gaze for a beat. You can start by writing what you saw, she says. Every detail, times, words, hands. Nolan swallows and nods. On the wall monitor, the summit's main stage feed stabilizes. The red banners fade. Sponsor logos return. But the crowd noise sounds different now. Less dazzled, more awake. Grant stares at that feed like it's a mirror he can't control. Amara picks up the titanium key, rolls it once between her fingers, then closes her hand around it. Let's go, she tells Carter. And for the first time all day, the building's doors open for her without question. The main hall smells like hot cables and cologne, a mix of ambition and electronics that clings to the carpet. Stage lights sweep across rows of faces, investors, engineers, policy staff, people who stare at screens for a living and still miss what's right in front of them. 2 LED walls flank the stage, now steady, but the earlier red warnings leave an afterimage in everyone's posture. Whispers travel in thin waves. Amara stands at the edge of the stage entrance with Deputy Director Carter, just off camera, watching the room recalibrate. Her blazer sits smooth on her shoulders. Her chin stays level. In her hand, the titanium USB key feels heavier now, not because it changes, but because the room finally understands what it is. Grant Voss is already on stage, gripping a handheld mic like it can anchor him. His suit is still perfect, but his eyes keep darting to the wings, searching for control he no longer owns. Lila Hart stands near the stairs with her headset lowered around her neck, face pale, lips pressed tight. Nolan waits by the aisle, hands clasped in front of him, not performing authority, holding it accountable. Grant clears his throat. The sound echoes too long. We experienced an attempted intrusion, he says, voice practiced, and our team contained it quickly. A ripple of skeptical murmurs rises. Marcus Reed sits 3 rows back, shoulders squared, eyes fixed. He doesn't look impressed. He looks ready to testify. Carter leans toward Amara, voice low. He's rewriting the narrative. Amara's eyes don't move from Grant. He can try, she says. The logs don't care. On cue, a technician at the control booth signals that the stage feed is ready to display the incident summary Carter authorizes. The right LED wall switches from sponsor loop to a clean DHS incident graphic. Timeline, incident response, verified actions. At the bottom, a line appears. Root of trust rebind initiated by A. Brooks. Grant's words stumble. His jaw tightens. He glances at the wall, and the smallest muscle in his cheek twitches. The crowd sees it. Heads tilt. Phones rise. A soft chorus of camera shutters begins. Quiet. Relentless. Grant tries to laugh it off. That's an internal label, he says, not relevant to the audience. Marcus's voice cuts through from the seats, clear and steady. Is that the ghost architect? He asks. The room shifts as if someone changes air pressure. People lean forward. A woman in the front row narrows her eyes, then looks at the name again. Another attendee whispers, Ghost architect is real. Lila's gaze snaps to Grant, then to the wings where Amara stands. Her mouth parts. She looks like she's watching gravity reverse. Carter nods toward the stage. Your choice, she murmurs. Amara steps out. Stage light hits her face cleanly, no flattering softness, just truth. She walks with measured pace, shoulders squared, eyes level. The crowd quiets in layers, first the front rows, then the back, until the only sound is the faint hum of the lights and the distant ventilation. Grant shifts aside as if space opens without his permission. He offers the mic with a stiff hand, like surrender disguised as courtesy. Amara doesn't take it yet. She looks at him first, holding eye contact long enough that his gaze flickers down, then back up, then away. Her voice carries without amplification when she speaks. "You blocked me at the door," she says, calm. "You called me cleaning. You put hands on me because you trusted your assumptions more than your own systems." A murmur runs through the room. Nolan's jaw clenches, his shoulders lift, then settle. Lila's eyes glisten, but she doesn't blink. She watches Amara like she's learning. Amara takes the mic now. Her fingers wrap around it steady, no tremor. "I'm Amara Brooks," she says, "and I write the first version of Voss Shield's signing service. I build the recovery path you use today. I keep the master encryption key because I know what happens when people confuse image for integrity." Grant swallows hard. The mic picks up the tiny sound. Amara gestures toward the LED wall. "The attack isn't a magic trick. It's a consequence. When you cut corners on trust anchors, when you reuse roots, when you chase applause instead of auditing." She pauses, letting the silence do the work. Her eyes sweep the audience, landing on faces that look suddenly younger, suddenly uncertain. "And when you ignore talent because it doesn't look like your poster," Grant tries to reclaim footing. "We're grateful," he says quickly. "We'll..." Carter steps onto the stage just enough to be seen. "The incident is under federal review," she says, voice crisp. "Misrepresentation to investors or government clients will be addressed accordingly." The crowd reacts. Sharp inhalations, whispered ohs, the sound of consequences becoming real. Grant's shoulders tense, his eyes flash, then soften into calculation. "Amara," he says, voice lowered for the mic. "We can settle this privately." Amara's gaze turns cold again, controlled and absolute. "You tried private," she replies. "Private is where you erased my name." She turns to the audience. "If you're building security, build it with humility," she says, "because the system always tells on you." A meta-truth hangs in the air, larger than the summit, larger than the company. In a world run by invisible code, prejudice is its own exploit, an outdated shortcut that eventually crashes the whole machine. Amara steps back. She doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. The room stands in a wave. First a few people, then dozens. Applause rising not as celebration, but as recognition. Grant remains still, trapped between cameras and truth. Nolan watches from the aisle, eyes fixed, breathing steady. He looks like someone choosing the person he will become. Lila lifts her tablet and begins recording. Not for marketing. Evidence. Marcus nods once as if confirming a promise to himself. Carter guides Amara offstage toward the atrium, where agents wait with statement folders and sealed evidence bags. As Amara passes the glass doors that once slammed in her face, the same guard scanner that denied her now glows green, obedient at last. She doesn't look at it. She looks straight ahead. Thank you to everyone who typed dignity and shared your locations with us. Seeing this global community united for accountability and truth proves that justice is a universal human value. If this story moved you, please subscribe for more stories of tech world discrimination being confronted by courage and skill. Until next time, remember that the strongest security is integrity, especially when no one is watching.